Muckspout.
Hello and welcome. Here we are, Muckspout again. This is episode 4, right?
5.
Damn.
You weren't here didn't mean it wasn't an episode, Ben.
Yeah. All right.
No, it doesn't count. It does not fully count if everyone's not here.
This is episode 4.5 of the Muckspout podcast about punk rock, punk culture, DIY shit, anything we want to talk about. We're here with Mike Tenner and Alan, no last name given.
Yeah. Oh, Dunford. Okay, I got to change that now. This was.
Hey, we were talking about last names before we jumped on. So my last name is Teener.
Oh, Tina.
Tenner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just found out about recently.
yeah.
Really?
Well, like the best way, like I always tell everybody, hey, it's Teener.
So, Mike and I, we've known each other for I think like 15 years or so. We've played in bands together and everything. So we kind of fit with the whole shtick of everything that's going on here. But
Nice.
Whenever Mike was first getting into comic books, he kept going by William. William, he called yourself.
Yeah, I used my middle name.
Dude, so here's the thing. One video you shot, I don't know if you were nervous, but this is when like Dragonfly 2 was coming out, and it was just made on this shaky cell phone that you're holding in front of you, and you said, "I'm William Tenner." And I had this out-of-body experience. So I've been calling you Teener forever. And you
thought it was
fucked up
Tenner.
your own last name. And then I was just assuming that we all start calling you Willem Tenner. And I just thought it was the funniest thing. So, yeah.
It'd be like changing yours to like Alex.
Yeah. Alec Dunford.
Yeah. That would take forever to kind of re-engineer yourself.
Yeah.
Here I am. I just fucked up my own name on a video.
You said, "Hi, I'm William Tenner," and I was like time just like the world just stopped moving for a second.
Well, I can't really talk because I spell my name with 2 M's. So,
Yeah.
I can't spell anyway. So you guys put together a horror anthology called Roseblood Manor. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. First off, I want to say I love everything Bad Bug is doing. Every time I see you guys pop up, your shit looks golden, man. Like it's like top quality art, beautiful lettering. The stories look sick. Like whatever you got, like you're nailing it.
Wow. Thank you. Ego
For real.
Restored.
Yeah.
Ego is restored.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
There you go.
flattery with Mike will get you everywhere.
There we go.
No, it's like that's how everyone got into Bad Bug is they just complimented me a bunch.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
All
in
right,
Monsters
cool.
Inc.
You're
Whenever
in.
the screams actually fuel the city, it's like Mike. Yeah, it's just ego. That's just the only thing
Perfect.
in essence. Yeah.
Well, I'm a comic writer, and I think you have a great beard, so we should talk.
Oh, nice.
So tell us what Roseblood's about.
Well, so probably the best way to start with that one is just talk about our intentions for Roseblood, and then that kind of better, I think, represents what the end result is. But anyway, we wanted to make an anthology that felt very, a very strict narrative in the sense that there is this haunted house that can manifest and take many shapes or forms and lure its prey, and it's like a predator, so it's like this interdimensional traveler changeling that happens to be a haunted mansion, and then that's its natural form.
Love it.
All right, so the idea is that the narrative, there's a frame narrative in every issue, and then there's 3 supplementary stories that all kind of converge into one conclusion as a group. So we didn't really refine that concept until we started working on issue 2. So issue 1 is a little bit more wild card, but John, to his credit, since he was for a long time there editing and helping put together the scripts, he also had a writing credit on this one too, because John helped form the frame narrative story wise and helped kind of guide the whole project. So thank you, John. He wouldn't bring that up, so I would make sure that we got that on the show.
I don't know, on
anyway,
this show I might be comfortable enough to like.
Yeah. I'll do it for you. It's not a problem. So, anyways, the idea is that this thing can show up at any place in time, and so that allows us to have some liberties with the story. But there should be something, some sort of indication that Roseblood is nearby and is influencing the story in some shape or form. And we don't want to do it in an empty way too, because we went back and done a lot of edits for it. But ultimately, that's the concept. That was our intent with it, and I think we've got a better handle on it now. We've finished one anthology issue finally. This is our first time really working on one as a group, so that was kind of a unique challenge. But,
so they're not all stories that are taking place in a haunted house. This house is affecting them even outside. There's stories that aren't within the house.
Yes. Yeah. Or you may find yourself in the house. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, I was going to say, because in our first story, which is Declined, which is Scott's story, it takes place at the Roseblood Hotel, right? Because there's a giant sign outside of it that says
it's like really on the nose.
Yeah. But it's just, but still, like, stuff can still be on the nose, and yet we can still miss it because it's too obvious, right?
Mm-hmm. And some of the things that we talked about with this too was, you know how like the yellow barrels represent the shark in the water in Jaws? Mm-hmm. We wanted the color red to feel that way as you go through this anthology series. So red has its own influence, both from an artistic perspective and from the writing perspective. So as you go through the series, you'll see a lot of reds and places, and that will sometimes misdirect you or guide you to what's going to happen next. So.
Love that stuff. So I'm curious, in terms of like the challenges, you guys obviously have a lot of background and experience with writing and publishing comics, but an anthology seems like a different animal because you got to take all these different minds and all these different ideas and kind of like coalesce them into something unified. So like, what are the challenges of that? Who on the team do you rely on to kind of like thread the needle?
Mike, can I take this one?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Because you look like your brain was about to explode.
No, it was a lot. So.
So before we get into the writing trials and tribulations of everything, first and foremost, we are a group of everyone that respects each other, and we all have a common goal. So I think instead of Mike reaching out to different people and just staying inside of the circle for this one definitely helped because everyone already has an understanding of where everyone's coming from. We're familiar with other people's work, and everyone has the same idea and goal in mind, and that's to make a kick-ass anthology series.
Right.
Because I think whenever you have, granted, I've never worked on an anthology series before until this one, but I think whenever you do have an anthology, there is a disconnect from you and the other creators on the project because people can just reach out to you and be like, hey, you got 8 to 12 pages to work with this. Just send it to me when you're done, and then we're just going to slap it together. This has been very involved. Everyone's sending pages as we update, and it's really cool to see everyone's work in progress coming, and not just when you get the book in your hand, like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't know this story was in here. So I think that's kind of what separates this, is because this was, to our credit, and I'll never say this about anything else we do, this was thought out. So it was, I think it was good.
What's that like?
Yeah.
To add to that, Alan, I don't know if maybe you said it and I just zoned out when you were talking.
Probably.
I'm looking at your face. I'm like, God, I want to punch this guy, but I love it. That's how we feel every time we look at each other in video. So anyway, Alan said it best though, but we had a group chat with all the artists and writers and everybody that was involved with the project, and every piece of art had to pass through there, and everyone had to comment and give approval and that kind of thing when they cared to. Sometimes they would just view passively, and that was no big deal. But everyone's feedback was essential into the development of this. So you're talking like, I think there was 15 people in the chat, 14 people in the chat, and we're all quality checking and adding things as we go. So a lot of concepts came from the artists on this too, like the two-headed cat that we use a lot. It's an icon now, but that was from our artist Summer, who did some of the concept artwork. So we're using it, and we threw it into the narrative. So it's just everybody's had contributions. So there's going to be a huge legal entanglement if this ever, took off, and then we were like, all right, this person owned this much, that person owned that. It's going to be a nightmare.
That text chain will be a legal document by that point. So
Yeah, if you can figure out which of the 50 bad bug chats that we have going at any given time, then
Oh yeah, no, you'd be in trouble, man. Yeah.
fair enough.
Somebody gets paid a lot of money to do that stuff.
I will say, just to bring something else up, and you kind of touched on it, is one other thing that really separates the book, in my opinion, is that the frame narrative isn't just the horror host or hostess introducing each story. Right. There's an actual interweaving story surrounding the three main stories, and it took a lot of doing to get it there, and it was a lot of pain in the ass work, but it, there was people calling us out on like a bunch of 30-year-old white guys doing 30-year-old white guy stuff. Maybe you try a little bit different.
Yeah,
I was like,
more diversity.
all right, that sucks, but okay, yeah. So but to everyone's credit, we rallied and we got it, kind of interwoven a lot more clearly. And I think it works very well because of it. Like I said, it was a giant pain in the ass, but it sets us apart from other anthologies.
So what I do want to say is, to your point, John and Scott really jumped in there, right? Because John, you're right, man. We could have taken the easy way out. We could have had a page. Well, that was fun. Now here's our next story.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Move on with your life.
Right,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We have a commercial break. Oh, no, that was fun. Aren't you scared? And then
Right.
we go to the next one. But yeah, we don't take the easy way out, which I think will show in the quality of the work.
Yes, I think that's the best creative portion of this whole thing is how you guys have managed to naturally, organically segue in between the stories and use the frame narrative in a really respectful fashion, as opposed to a lazy, intermission thing like you're talking about. Because even I early on I was like, yeah, we need to have a hot horror host. I was like, because I want one. That was about the level of thought I put into it. I saw Elvira. I was watching Elvira, and I was like, you know what? We need one for our era. We don't have an Elvira for our era. That was the 80s.
True.
That's 40 years ago. So we just have to go ahead and say, hey, now it's time for a new one. So this was our attempt at a new one. And,
speaking of that, is there any?
Is her name? What's that?
Is there any plan to syndicate this thing and get it on TV? Is that the deal?
Well, I guess we're gonna have to figure out that legal stuff I mentioned earlier first. I mean, that's gonna be tough.
I hear Netflix greenlights everything. You should go for it.
Oh my gosh,
we should be okay. You would think, right?
We didn't really talk much about the TV stuff, though. I know that's a lot. Like a lot of creators think about that a lot. Is this something that they could sell to a network, or streaming service? And that's a lot of times they look at those things that way. And honestly, Roseblood, it would make sense just because anthologies are in abundance right now.
Yeah, and plus they're easy, right? Because you can have, we have four stories in this. You just need 4 different directors. They could all be filming at the same time.
Yeah.
You don't need to shoot episode by episode. Yeah,
these are going to move a lot faster. These are going to move a lot faster than other books because of that. And so, this time next year, we might be on issue 6 of Roseblood.
The anthology thing seems to be coming back as well to some degree, especially in the horror space. I don't know if you guys know about the show Monsterland.
Monsterland?
Oh yeah, I think I watched the first episode of that. It was kind of rough, like the actual first story, but it was definitely intriguing. It's
disturbing, and not in a holy crap, that's gory kind of way. Every story, it's like taking monster mythology from the old days and crafting a story around a modern concept that fits in with that mythos. So there's one where a fisherman catches a siren, and you watch him slowly descend into madness as he falls in love with this sea creature. And there's another one where it's a zombie that's come back to life, but the girlfriend doesn't want to lose their partner, and it gets really, it's dealing with feelings of loss and all that kind of. It's really emotional.
I have never seen Mike pay more attention in my whole life than how he is right now.
Yeah, definitely check it out. The first season's cool. I don't know if they're going to repeat it, but it's really cool.
I like horror.
What's that on?
I'm a big fan of those. The Cabinet of Curiosities that Del Toro's just put out on Netflix.
Yeah.
And then American Horror Stories. I like that more than American Horror Story.
Yeah.
You know, I really do. I like the change up from episode to episode. I mean, there's so many more though. That's the thing. Like they brought back Creep Show. That's on Shudder. So that's another one. And we could go on all day. That's the thing. You're right. They're so popular and they're so rampant. And it's funny because I guess subconsciously I knew that, but I always wanted to see what we would do with an anthology because everybody in Bad Bug loves horror. I mean, we all write stories that kind of, you know, have at least one foot in horror.
I was going to say everything has a darkness to it in the Bad Bug universe. It seems.
Yeah, for the most part.
Not in a bad way.
I think we only have genuinely one story that's sci-fi, and even then, there's a lot of creatures in it and stuff like that. So it could be, you know, looped in with monsters, which obviously has a home in horror.
Yeah. So you guys said you were in bands together before?
Yeah.
So you guys play?
So Mike and I both play guitar. We played in a metal band together, and then we played in an alt rock band most recently. We were playing
names.
Metal band. Which the first name was Bitch Shitter. But they couldn't put us on flyers.
Yeah, we were never on flyers.
Yeah,
imagine.
It's like we didn't exist.
So we changed it to Sexy Action News Team, and then our most recent band, which was Wives with Knives, we were playing pretty good, and then COVID happened. And as how COVID did with every garage band, it pretty much put a stake in that.
But the bass player, where all of our stuff's located at right now, it's all at his house. He would still send us videos of him playing on all the instruments.
Yeah.
So like, the only one that continued creatively was Devin, our bass player, and here he is like messing with synthesizers and.
We just need to get back over there and
he
play
went on
again.
a huge musical journey.
Yeah, I still remember all the songs, so let's just get back in there and do it.
Yeah, is there a plan to bring it back?
Just Mike, you have to say the word. That's it.
Yeah, that's getting in a rhythm with all this stuff's been tough. That's another thing too, because like you know, I still have a day job, and then the evenings are starting to be taken up more because I'm shipping stuff every night.
Yeah.
For
So it's
sure.
like we run so many campaigns in a year that there's just always something I'm working on.
Whose
sounds
damn
like a
fault is
nightmare.
that, Mike?
Huh?
Whose damn fault is that?
Me wanting money. I'll do anything for money.
See, now what you guys need to do is just tie it into like the next Ragnarok or something, and you can do the cassette for the next one and just come out with originals for a band that they're playing against in the Battle of the Bands.
There you go.
There you go.
And then that'll give you impetus to actually get off your ass and play some music.
I know.
You can sell comics at a music show.
It's tough to it's like you always look back at whenever you played a show and you had fun, like that was always the thing. Like there was good experiences, and you always want to have that again. So musicians never stop performing live, at least, you know, like in my area, you know, there's a lot of veteran musicians that still play shows like almost every other weekend. You know, they don't, obviously that's an itch that they can't seem to scratch, but they keep trying, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I think we'll probably end up playing something again. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a definite maybe. I love
That's
it.
a definite maybe.
Yeah.
Time's the only thing. Time is really
It is.
all
No, I get that.
It's only
Well,
time, man.
Ben's working on a space up in Canada for you guys can play and record and everything when
Oh yeah, you're
he's
making a
done with
studio?
that. Yeah.
Well,
Uh-oh.
bit of a change of plans.
Uh-oh. What
Okay.
happened?
yeah. We'll see if it happens, but I'm no longer connected.
Oh, okay.
To put it that way. Yeah, there's been some changes of plans. So I got my own. Yeah, I got another band I'm in. So basically, it was a conflict of priorities, not just mine, and decided to part ways. But they're still doing their thing, and I wish them all the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, onward and upward.
Cool.
Just
So
like
you're,
Roseblood Manor.
What are you playing right now? You said you're playing with some other guys?
Yeah, so I'm in a band called Mute Sounds. It's a post rock, so like instrumental.
Okay.
And the lead singer is a great dude, and top-notch human being. And he ended up developing throat cancer a few years ago and lost his ability to speak. And so while he was going through radiation and chemo, he learned how to play guitar. And once he was, healed, he started playing music and then came to Toronto and tried to form a band. And now I'm playing drums for him. And yeah, we just started recording our new album. And it sounds awesome. And
That's
like,
awesome, man.
I know I'm biased, but I think it sounds pretty great.
Well,
Can't wait to hear it.
once you have something down that you can share and wouldn't be opposed to putting it on a CD of our stuff. Or
Oh, hell yeah.
I still got to send you a cassette, don't I? Or did I send you one?
I don't think you have, but that's okay.
I'll send you. Yeah, I'll send you.
I would even if you just send me the digital tracks so I can listen to it. Because I don't really have a cassette player. I'd have to go out and buy a cassette player to listen to it.
Oh yeah, no, it's just more to have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't have a cassette player. Those were all thrown away, so I'd have to go to the dump to get another one. I think.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but if you could send me the digital tracks, because I'd love to hear the other bands that were on there.
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and do that now while we're talking.
Cool.
Because I'll forget otherwise.
So Roseblood has 10 days left. Is that right?
Yes.
Basically,
Question mark.
yeah.
I've got it up here. So yes, 10 days left.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
It-
It's a shorter campaign. We
Yeah.
ran it for 22 days, I think is what it was. 22, 24, 22.
But we funded in like 4 hours. So
Which is wild.
Well,
Yeah.
that's-
We're really fortunate. Our newsletter has a lot of followers now. We're like 1,100 in, and our day ones do really, really well.
That's awesome. That's one thing that I think a lot of creators they hear about all the time, newsletters, but they don't know exactly how to get that happening. So
We're not good at it.
this past year, I've only started working on it myself better, but I'm not good still.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have a fair amount of experience with the crowdfunding situation. So, what would you say are like the big pointers that you wish you knew when you started?
So I've started this venture a little over a year ago. And I think without Mike's guidance, I don't know where I would be
Man.
with doing this stuff. Because without you, Mike, I wouldn't have the team that I have together. And then
And I was your
ultimately-
inspiration.
You were never not the inspiration. But I think shipping accordingly is huge because I had a stretch goal on the very first campaign we ran. And we had an 8x10 print, which was the dumbest thing that I probably could have ever done because it didn't fit in all the boxes that I ordered.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know the Gemini mailers existed because I never shipped a fucking comic book before.
Right. Yeah.
It was just a pain in the ass. The whole thing was terrible. It cost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
To do all that. And then I think learning what people want and what they don't want, like you learn with each campaign on what you think will work, won't work. The most recent campaign I had was a horror book called Grandma Chainsaw, and we went in on the covers for that one too, whether they be metal or the glow in the dark metals. And Mike, I think that's something that you guys have kind of done too now, has just been really going all in on covers, just because people love art. They're easy to ship with everything, and it's crazy how much it is to actually ship a T-shirt.
Yeah. I also think the covers are good because it allows you to choose kind of your identity a little bit. Like you can pick the cover that you want to have, and then when you talk to other people about the comic, you can be like, "Oh, which one did you get?" And it kind of creates a little bit of
It's a
personal-
trading card mentality. When it finally stuck, someone pointed this out to me. It's like, hey, if you have chases or variants to your variant covers,
Yeah, you
where
guys have variants and variants. I know.
just a few that are spot foil where the others are plain, but it's still a different artist on both those covers.
Right.
Yeah, when you do things like that, it triggers that part of the brain for a consumer that they're collecting, and that trading card mentality that we probably all had growing up.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have them all, So, I think that's how those covers work now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and plus too, we kind of we're talking about it. We were gearing the covers for some of the stories too, so we thought that was kind of fun. a good way to do that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I don't think we even talked about the stories yet that are in the book, have we?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we have it. Okay, John, I'm throwing it over to you. I'm the host now.
Throwing it over to me.
Yes, you're
So-
talking about Mama's Boy.
Okay, Mama's Boy is the frame narrative that we put together. Mike kind of started everything out, and he did a very basic frame narrative just to get us intro to everything. And we all thought it was great, and then we rethought it after, like I said, somebody called us out and said, do I care about this person? If they're going to die at the end, do I even give a shit? And so we said, all right, let's figure out a way to make people care. And we, kind of retooled the main Chuck character and got him a little more endearing to the person. I won't go too far into it because I don't want to ruin anything, but Scott Wilkie did a great job of retooling a lot of it. I threw ideas back and forth. I was otherwise occupied, but he did a great job of running with a lot of the stuff I just randomly threw at him. And it came out fantastic, in my opinion. Everything kind of flowed into these guys' stories. And unfortunately, I would throw the mic over to Scott at this point, but he's not here. Mike, do you want to take Scott's story and kind of give it a little rundown?
Scott's is the problem with these, right, is we can really only just tell you the premise to them because you know
it's
what
a
kind
short
of
story,
journey.
right?
Yeah, I mean, you're going on an 8 to 10 page journey. If I talk about this more than 10 seconds, then I've probably ruined it all for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So Scott's is really interesting because it kind of explains that concept of the manor taking shape or taking a form to attract its prey. In this story, it's just this desperate, lonely man that's succumbed to the manor's abilities to deceive and seduce. And that's really all I could go into.
Yeah. And that's all you really need. It's pretty much, I was looking for the little synopsis we had on the Kickstarter page, essentially. And it was and then after that, another person that unfortunately couldn't be here because he's dying internally. No, he's got bronchitis. He just had 2 kids. My God, Chris Jerome he's fantastic. But anyway, he has a story called Roadkill. It's about not necessarily a corrupt cop, I guess you'd say. I don't know if I'd call him corrupt, but he's doing questionable things. Let's say that. And let's just say that, from there, he gets a little bit of what's coming to him. And then it leads into Alan's story.
Hey, hi, I'm Alan, and I'm the only one here representing their story. So my story is The Wandering Man. I was really happy when Mike asked me to do this. I don't know if it was with Pocus or Grandma Chainsaw or a combination of the two, but I'm happy you asked and you thought I was a good fit for this. So mine takes place in a time before everyone else's does. And mine is about an art collector who kind of gets a little bit more than what he pays for with this painting this time around. And yeah, we had a ton of fun with it. We're super happy with how it turned out. And we definitely pulled in a lot of what we were doing with Pocus Hocus over to this with the Victorian era, just time frame of it. And it was just, it was a lot of fun to have that.
Preview that story. We got to take a look at that one. Yeah.
Did you get to see the whole?
Yeah.
I found the pages in one of the old chats, and yours was the only one that had all the lettering and everything done. So
yay!
Send it over to those guys.
Okay, well, done. He got an A.
Yeah, the art was beautiful, and it was fun. It was a good story.
Okay, good. I'm glad you guys like it.
Really
it was awesome.
Yeah.
It got me excited to read the rest of them. To be honest with you, like when I thought, I was like, "Oh, this is going in places I didn't see it before." Okay, I'm in.
Yeah. No. And another thing about that, to give Alan credit too, is like the work between he and Will, who are co-writers, and the artist Brian Belando. He's a writer too in a lot of ways. It seems like, right? Because like just some of the ideas are visually carried visually. Not saying that the writing is not supplementing those moments. But
I know where my
Alan's smart because he knows when to back off and let the art tell the story. That's the great thing about Alan as a writer. It's not like trying to throw a lot of words at the space. Hey, this panel seems a little too empty. I'm going to fill it with more words. No,
Right.
he lets things breathe, and that allows Brian to really kind of go unhinged sometimes. And I think that's what he did in that short story.
Yeah, because John, you got a chance to see it. I think even on that the page of our story, the climactic one.
Yeah.
The only thing it said on there was Brian, go crazy. And that was it. Yeah.
And he
Well, and
certainly did. Yeah.
When
those
you look at the
paintings were
pages,
fantastic.
you do look around. Like there's a lot to look at, and it's
Yeah.
not overwhelming. It's comfortable, and it was really nice.
I've always felt that the sign of a good comic page is if you get to the end of the page and you go back up, you're like, hold on, I want to see more of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
No, I definitely got that feeling out of that. That was good.
But yeah, so that, I mean, in a nutshell, then of course Mama's Boy will tie up everything. But yeah, guys, that's Roseblood Manor, and we're so happy to put this thing out.
Well, you guys are already funded, so you're way past a bunch of your stretch goals. You only have a couple more left from what I saw.
Yeah, they're not all monetarily based. Like we like engagement on our campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of reasons for that, but one of those is that I think the more engagement you have with your backers and supporters, the more you have better retainment of them.
Definitely.
You have better communication with them because you're constantly showing them new updates with more stretch goals. And that's what we realized the value in stretch goals, because I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I was like, you know what? It's just something to give people an update on, something more to entice them to stay. So,
right.
So we have a lot of stretch goals that are unlocked, but there's a lot more still that people can do, and it's just by leaving project comments on the page for that engagement purpose. And then we have some where it's just a referral program. If you got someone else to back this Kickstarter, just send us both the names, and as long as both of you guys don't cancel, that unlocks that stretch goal for you.
Yep.
So it's little things like that I think we've started to see more value with, and I think that's helped us as far as with these particular campaigns that we've had this year, for sure.
Yeah. Do you see that stuff translating to other Bad Bug projects, or do they kind of stick to the lane that they chose, or
the erotica line?
All I mean is, like, if someone backs Ragnarok and then something else comes out, are they more inclined?
It feels like we always have something that's launching. So yeah, there's always it's like a lily pad thing, right? Like they just hop over to the next one and then the next one and then
right.
So I guess. Yeah, I see familiar names. Alan, I know on your campaigns you recognize names that you've seen that have just, but I don't think we ever crosstalk a lot about those. So where Bad Bug has projects under a lot of other creators, we never really talk much about our customers by name a whole lot. So we've never really been able to cross-reference how much we've retained over those. But it seems like with the numbers we get that we've retained some. So those people message us, though, I think a lot. I think the ones that do engage with us are the ones that we remember simply because of that. Like a few I found on Facebook and added them as friends because they just talk to us all the time. So I was like, hey, let's make this official.
Nice.
So.
That's when it's official, when you can DM somebody.
Yeah. The thought process too, and I don't know if I brought this up to you, Alan. I might have been talking with somebody else, but like a loyalty program. I was like, might as well just start thinking about doing a loyalty program for people that are incentivized to back all of our projects.
Right.
Totally.
So,
membership would be cool.
Yeah, and because again, like what we were talking about, Mike and I, with our most recent ones, we ran a cross promotion with Midnight Highway 3 and Grandma Chainsaw, where if you back both, you got a crossover print, and it's just little stuff like that. I think that even just separates some campaigns apart too.
Yeah, I think that worked out really well for us. I mean, I don't know officially yet because you still haven't sent me the Excel file.
Oh, I need to do that. My bad.
Can you just do that right now?
Yeah, let me get my laptop.
All right, because I have stuff that's just waiting to be shipped, so I can cross.
You lie.
Thanks for watching Muxfeld, where we talk office.
We need to get a
There he goes.
on the show.
Well, you've only told me like 3 times now that you're going to send it. So
Yeah.
just
Well, so
call you
the problem is I have to do it on my laptop because that's where my Microsoft Office is on because it's not on my desktop. So
Okay, tell you what. While Alan's getting that going, Mike, why don't you pimp out any bad books we got coming up that you
Sure.
wanna like talk about real quick?
So there's a lot.
where do you begin?
Yeah, but just things
we're
that we might
kind of on
look.
pause a little bit. I'm going to run one more campaign this year, but that's going to be a test, and it's with our highest grossing series, Vanya, which is an erotic title. It is going to launch in about 2 weeks, and that's going to be Vanya number 4, and that'll be the last one of the year. And then come January, a lot of people regain confidence in crowdfunding, right? We all go back into the ocean, is what I'll say. So,
All that Christmas money.
yeah, yep. So, Vanya is going to be a test to see how well our best does monetarily wise through the holiday period. We're going to just see how that one goes. And then in January, we've got Bobby Joe, which is a series that's debuting called it's got a long title. It's Bobby Joe, Appalachian Extraterrestrial Exterminator. So it's just a hillbilly girl that kills lots of aliens up in the Appalachian Mountains.
And it's a
Cool.
ton of fun. I read the script, and it's
fun.
A ton of fun. Yeah.
Scott Wilkie's writing that too. So we've got that. We've got Hypergeist 2, which is one of our other erotic titles. That was also a pretty successful one on Kickstarter. That's coming out in January. We've got we're aiming to have Midnight Highway 4 out by January. That's like the next thing we're working on because we're starting to fulfill 3 right now. And there's more, but that's all I've got off the top of my head right
I saw you teasing Monster World earlier on your Facebook story,
Monster
right?
World. That's going to be in February. So that one's Jurassic Park with cryptids.
Ooh. All right.
It's called Foster Copperfield's Monster World.
Gotcha.
And that one's just like a family traveling through, West Virginia, stumbles upon an old theme park that's been torn down, basically, and under condemned, right, for about 30 years, and then
one of the kids gets eaten by a chupacabra.
Hell yeah, they do.
Yeah.
That's our first family-friendly book, and we're not like pulling punches, but we don't have a lot of language in it and stuff. We don't have a title that we can sell at cons where parents want to bring their kids.
Right. Yeah.
We're just like, you know what? It sucks because these kids come by and they see all these sweet covers and stuff, and they're not thinking about the content inside it. They're like, this looks badass. I want it.
And they're like, well, too damn bad, kid.
Yeah, too damn bad. So, this was our first PG title, I guess you could say.
That's cool.
So, Alan, are you done with your office work over there? Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to pimp on your end that's non-bad bug related? Or
yeah, so January, Pocus Hocus 5, we're doing that. And then right after that, we're doing Grandma Chainsaw 2.
Awesome.
So we're going to stagger the releases. So it's going to be Pocus 5, Grandma Chainsaw 2, Pocus 6, Grandma Chainsaw 3, so on and so forth.
Fantastic.
And then any other random short stories that Mike needs, I'll just throw it in there too.
Awesome. Always glad
Wicked.
to see scripts coming across my plate. So always happy to see your stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, because you like Grandma Chainsaw and you can't take it back one run live stream.
No, man, that hit the sweet spot for me. That was all the horror goodness and all the weird fun art, and just like it was just off the rails fun. So I think you hit just the right notes with that for an old horror head like me. So
good. I appreciate it.
Yep. Sure did.
Awesome.
And the bummer is with Grandma Chainsaw, it's kind of like when you want to. Have you guys watched Barbarian, by the way?
Not yet,
dude.
On my list.
Right?
Guys,
so good.
Watch that.
It's so good.
Watch it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's
but
like
you can't explain it to people.
No,
because you'll ruin
it ruins it. Yeah.
And don't.
You're talking about the TV series?
What's that?
You're talking about the TV series?
No.
It's a movie that just came
out recently.
Yeah, it was a 2022 horror flick that came out on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look it up.
It's for horror fans, old and new. It's a must.
All right.
Yep, that's pretty much top of my list right now. I
Yeah.
just need to get Holly to actually agree to sit down and watch it with me.
Yeah.
So.
No, well, that's the thing. Alice doesn't like horror, but we sat down and watched that one together, and she liked it too.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
awesome.
Subverts
That's good to know.
expectations. You never know where it's going. It pulls you in immediately. The last movie that made me feel that way was like *Malignant*.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great one too. And Alan's Grandma Chainsaw honestly kind of did that for me
I
too,
appreciate
because of where it really just what you think you're seeing, what you think you're getting, and then does a surprising twist and a preferred one, an enjoyable one. Because sometimes people do the twist and you're like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is one that you like. You're like, oh, awesome! This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hope this one isn't a Shyamalan. That's all,
Yeah.
There's only so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard one to land is the twist, because you might think it's the coolest thing ever and someone else is like, but why though?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a risk, really, is what it is. That's why no one bats, 1,000% or whatever. Like they just, there's a lottery of choices there, and lightning in a bottle happens, and they all link up and work out. But
yeah,
that's kind of the fun thing about horror too. Like an example of it not working out in their favor is Halloween Ends. That was.
Yeah.
I've heard. I haven't watched it yet, but I hear.
We won't give it away, but
Yeah.
it's almost like they tried to just cram two things together, and it just was where they were going with the first two in that trilogy. Let's just say it didn't finish that way.
Wonderful.
And it's like if you were going for that tone in number 1 and 2 of that series, then end strong in that kind of flavor.
Commit to your actions.
Exactly.
And that one. Even reading, I always forget the director's name. David Gordon Green. Even reading his interviews about Halloween Ends, I wanted to punch him. like I really did. I was just like, dude, you're not making this for the fans. You're making this for you.
You piece of shit.
You're making this to hold yourself up as some masterful storyteller, because he did something controversial, made a choice to focus elsewhere from what we know propels the series. And then when you're talking about a conclusion of the series and building up for something like that, that was just a really cheap shot to take with your
trying to steal the spotlight a little bit.
I think so, a little bit. You'll understand more once you watch it, but it's worth watching because sometimes you want to learn what not to do.
Oh, dude, I am a huge fan of hate watching. I will hate watch a TV series or a movie, and just like in my head, I'm just making notes like that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'll do that with some things, and I'll say, okay, there's about 1% of this they did really well, and sometimes I'll actually make a note of that. It's like, now if you'd done the other 99% anywhere near that well, you might have had a movie.
Yeah.
Mike, did I introduce you to Neil Breen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Right, prime example.
Neil Breen and then Tommy Wiseau, obviously, we're both avid fans of. You ever seen The Room, guys?
The Room? Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Oh, the movie The Room?
No, I haven't yet. I know what you're talking
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah. Oh my God!
So
hang on.
Are you guys
Hang
writing
on.
down this stuff
Hang
that
on.
you need to watch, by the way?
Hang on.
Hey, Al, do you have your picture of Tommy?
That's amazing.
Do I have my
Grab
picture,
that.
Tommy? Hang
Second
on.
one. We really are fans. Alan showed this to me.
Oh, it's amazing. You have a sign. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I am so jealous, dude. That's amazing.
That's delightful.
Love Tommy Wiseau.
Hell yeah, boy.
He's right. Yeah.
Oh my God, he both did it.
That's funny.
Oh, that's
He
awesome.
said love is blind on mine and then said be good.
Yeah.
You started to be good too?
Yeah. He told me to be good,
Okay.
And
and I
the post
will. I
edit,
will
we're
for
gonna-
him.
It's like
In the post edit, he's going to make your
picture.
pictures kiss.
God, that's so funny.
Oh man.
So yeah, you guys got to watch that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So good.
Awesome.
I think that's the thing about horror too, right? Is you get pulled into stuff that's bad, but it's endearing and it's enjoyable to watch because there's still passion behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think Basket Case like that for me. I don't know if you guys ever saw that one,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's
No.
Alan. Have you seen that? Basket
No,
Case?
I haven't.
Oh my god, it's not a well-made movie at all.
Good. Good. Count me in.
That's what makes it great. But it's like this guy has like his twin brother, which was like this blob of a creature that was sewn to
Conjoined to him, yeah.
inside him. They remove it, and he carries it around in a basket, and it communicates with him like telepathically and tries to get him to do bad things and stuff. It's just a crazy ass movie.
And I mean,
But
at the
it
time,
looks shitty. It's like,
well, that's the
it
thing. Though,
looks
at
shitty,
the
but
time,
it's addictive. It's like fun to watch.
every movie looked like that, though. At the time, like, so you didn't mind it as much because everything was a rubber monster. You know?
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
you know, compared to everything around it, it was as much junk as everything around it. So it was
That's fair. That's
perfectly acceptable.
I think about that now when I'm playing video games, and I look at and I'm like, I remember when I thought like, you know, like GoldenEye had the best graphics. Like, oh my god, it looks like the real guy. And now I look back, I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? But
now
at the
you're like,
time,
oh my god. Yeah.
yeah. But at the time, it was incredible relative to everything I'd seen before that. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Movies are the same deal.
For real.
Matrix ruined everything. Made everything look too cool.
That's true. Nothing would be cooler than that, right? Like that was
At the time, for sure. And then Inception, and everybody's like, whoa. There's always like these, for whatever reason, there seems to be these plateaus of like storytelling or you know, art, music, whatever it happens to be. We hit it, and then we're kind of stuck there for a little while, and everybody's just trying to do that, but better. And then someone's like, fuck that, let's try this new thing. And then we move up to the next level.
Yeah. That's true. So, you know, I guess if we're done talking about Roseblood Manor,
Mm-hmm.
you know, is there at least a favorite horror anthology series that you guys have, like one that you grew up with that you absolutely loved? I got to know that much at least.
Before we leave, we
Are we
have to
talking
know.
Comics?
Okay.
Are we talking
No,
comics,
so-
movies, TV?
Mine is Twilight Zone. That is that is a huge influence for me.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
really
me
liked
too,
the-
man. I mean,
Friday the 13th, the series, I really liked. I think that
sure.
counts, right? Does that count?
it does. Yeah, I forgot about that one, but yeah, it does.
I actually really liked that one quite a bit,
That's cool.
even though it had nothing to do with the movie series. It was-
Okay, I actually have a few this time, for once. So this is the Canadian cut. There was a show that was on on YTV, which is a completely Canadian youth channel when I was a kid, called "Are You Afraid of the Dark?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah,
had it on
we liked
Nickelodeon.
We had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no shit! Yeah, it was a Canadian show. So I watched the
yeah,
hell out of
that's
that. Yeah, made all here, and
was that one that Alanis Morissette was on?
it might have been. Yeah,
Dude,
She was on
it's
one of those shows.
that Nickelodeon picked it up. And,
yeah, they did.
And it's,
Yeah. It started here, and I got a deep cut. It's not, I wouldn't call it a horror anthology, but it was a show that like it represented horror to me when I was a little kid. The Hilarious House of Dr. Frightenstein. You ever watched that?
What's it
With
called?
Vincent Price? And it had like, you guys don't remember this one?
No. What's
Oh
the
man,
name of it?
sorry?
What's it called?
The Hilarious House of Dr. Frightenstein.
Frightenstein.
Yeah, so there's like 100 episodes of it or something like that, and yeah, it was on in the 70s and 80s, and it used to come on Sunday afternoons, I think, and that's when I used to watch it when I was a kid. And it had Vincent Price in it. It had all these sort of like comedy actors, and they would basically play like horror characters like Dracula, the Wolfman, and that kind of stuff, but they would play them in some sort of comedic way. So the Wolfman was like a DJ. It was like, yeah, it was amazing. It was such a great show.
I'm gonna check that out. Holy shit!
Yeah,
It's crazy that you miss stuff like that. You know?
right?
There's a British anthology series called Monsters that you can see with Freevee, so it's free. You know, you just have to watch ads and stuff.
Right.
Holy shit! You know, they had like 4 or 5 seasons of it, and it's like, there's so many of them out there that we just never got to hear about. I guess.
Yeah, man.
What about you, man?
I think for me, I had it was probably special to me just because I like could get no TV when I was growing up, so I would go to my friend's house who had cable, and I could pick up a station out of Boston, and it would show Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite back in the day. That just had special memories. Whether or not it held up at all, I don't know. But the memories themselves were fabulous. So.
100%. That's Tales of the Crypt for me, because like when I go back and watch some of them, I'm like, it doesn't scare me now. But as a kid watching that stuff, yeah,
it just holds such a special place in your heart, for that creepy side of you wakening up,
Alan, you besides Twilight Zone, which I think that counts.
Yeah. So growing up, Goosebumps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a good one too, dude. I have
and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Definitely. But yeah.
Which one would you like? Battle Royale. Which one wins?
For one that scared me the most, probably Are You Afraid of the Dark? Just because they had this one stupid episode where this some bitchin' kid froze to death outside, and he would always come up and just be like, "I'm cold," and that just stuck with me, and it scared the shit out of me.
That's the ultimate Canadian nightmare.
Yeah. I'm cold, eh? It's like, yeah.
It's fucking cold out here, eh?
Yeah. And then the kid apologized for being cold afterward.
Well, just put a toque on, eh?
Toque on. Put that out on your face.
What's all the fuss about?
All right, it's getting personal now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're hitting that witching hour of the end of the episode. So if you guys want to drop off, you're welcome to stay. But Eric was going to wrap up with some news and stuff. So
right,
thank
awesome.
you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having us. Want to come back on anytime you guys want us. I'm speaking for Mike. But yeah.
Awesome. This was a great talk. So I'll be happy to have you guys.
And the stars aligning with the oh hi Mark thing. I'll never forget that.
That's absolutely a moment, right?
All right, you guys have a fantastic evening. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you guys.
Great
Bye,
talking to you guys. Bye.
Take it easy.
I appreciate it.
All right.
And then there were three.
Yeah.
Eric, I feel bad you haven't got a chance to talk too much this episode. So
Yeah.
us off
That.
there.
It's been a long weekend.
Okay.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just recovered from food poisoning, so my weekend was mostly restful, but not in the way I wanted it to be.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it sucked.
I took my son to a corn maze yesterday out in Indiana. It's like one of the biggest ones in the country or whatever. It's
Wow.
humongous. They have like 4 mazes that converge into one. And we went in the evening for the first time. So that was a lot of fun.
How was that?
We had flashlights and stuff. It was creepy. I was walking along with him and my girlfriend, and I was like, anybody here ever see Signs? And she's like, I haven't seen that. I was like, oh, we can see that now. Speaking of M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. That was my favorite Shyamalan movie, actually.
Yeah.
Personally.
It was a good one. It was a little more sci-fi, I guess, but it was.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
good.
I've always been more of a sci-fi dude.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about in our chat before about this Blink-182 thing and how we don't really care to cover it because they get enough coverage. But the Ticketmaster Dynamic Pricing thing kind of popped up right then.
Yeah.
And, I think pretty much everybody can agree that's bullshit.
Well, I feel like that's been a problem for a long time. And
You know what? It's something that I didn't realize, I think, until then. I think that kind of brought it to
Sure.
light.
Yeah, I don't think I realized it either until they had articles specifically about it, and then it made me look into it more. And I think it pissed me off more seeing that bands have to allow Ticketmaster to do that. But it also brings the question to light of, are bands 100% aware of how shitty that is? And how much they're getting, that the fans are getting fucked on something like that. Because, it might just be a little box that you check. It's like, oh, whatever. What is this? Yeah, okay, I'll check that box. But if they're saying, yeah, go ahead, I'll take their firstborn, I don't give a shit.
Right.
That's a completely different matter. So
right.
To frame it, I guess, for anybody that isn't aware of what's been going on, when the Blink-182 tickets came out, they were, what, $100-something or whatever?
Give or take,
for tickets, and then within hours they were going for 800 or so. And what happens is there's an algorithm within Ticketmaster that sees that a group of tickets is getting a lot of attention, and so it raises the prices of those tickets to I guess, further capitalize on that. Essentially, I mean, there's not
Yeah.
really a good reason for that.
It's the worst reason for it, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, it's a horrible supply and demand.
I wouldn't even call it supply and demand, because it's not about demand. It's about engagement. So like the fact that they are a sought after punk band that have not been performing regularly for a decade at least,
Something like that.
doesn't necessarily mean demand. I mean, what it means is that people have their attention, right?
Yep.
And so like on the local scene side of things, we've felt this for a long time, but I think this has actually been helpful in certain respects within the local music scene to help kind of like help us all realize that every musician is over the barrel. This idea that you can get to some level of success where you're no longer beholden to the venues doesn't exist.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And even the venues are beholden to this. That's something else I learned, is that the venues are over the barrel with Ticketmaster as well, because if they start fighting with this pricing model, then Ticketmaster will take the venue right off their list. And then they don't have access to the same audience. So, I mean, this sounds to me like monopoly. Like, it really shouldn't. And this seems to all coincide with them buying up Live Nation, which was their only real competitor. So to me, this is antitrust at best.
Yeah, this is total monopoly crap. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So do you think, Ben, being involved on that level, do you think that things like this and crazy ticket prices, because Blink isn't the first crazy ticket price situation, do you think things like that help smaller bands and that people start looking at those kind of shows, like smaller shows? Is that a thing, or is that fantasy?
I would say that that's probably an unfortunate, or maybe a bonus consequence, but I wouldn't say that it's directly connected. I think people who want to be part of the local scene are already part of it, and people who are going to the shows for the bands that they really love, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. It's not very often that I run into somebody who's like, yeah, I was going to go to the AC/DC show, but the tickets were sold out, so here I am. You know what I mean? Very rare. But by the same token, I think it will naturally cause people to start looking for other places to go and looking for other music. And I've always felt that music travels in waves. You know, if you look at the 60s, you know, the height of the 60s is what we consider Woodstock, right? And then after that, there was kind of a decline, and then disco, and then and then the 70s had their moment of creative explosion and stuff. And it wasn't even just in rock and roll. We had Michael Jackson, and we had, Stevie Wonder, and all sorts of different musical genres started to bloom in the 70s. And then the 80s, also there's a fair amount of stagnation in rock and roll, but then we also got punk rock. We also got, the Police. There was a lot of unique stuff that was happening. New wave started happening at that period.
Yeah.
And so it seems like when something is reaching its pinnacle, there's something else that's starting to form. And so what I'm seeing right now is, something else is forming beneath the surface. And the fact that they're capitalizing on tickets the way they are. And also, I don't know if Blink has had a real response to this, but
I saw that Mark Hoppus tried to order tickets and he was appalled by it. But I don't know. I guess he checked that box, so it depends on where he was on that.
Right. And also, being appalled is not the same as actually making a material effort to change anything.
I don't think they've done anything. But I could be wrong, so I won't speak for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, no disrespect to Travis Barker, who I think is an incredibly talented drummer, but he's spent the majority of the last couple of years wearing silly suits and walking around with pretty girls on his arm. So it's not like he's exactly. This kind of brought me to a thought that I wanted to kind of explore over multiple episodes if we're both interested or all interested.
Yep.
Which is, what is the difference between being punk and being a punk?
Yeah, that's an ongoing question for a lot of us, especially those of us that have been in the scene for a long time. And that, you get to a point where you're like, all right, is it part of the fashion? Is it part of the ideal? Is it part of, because I also think that being a punk is just being comfortable with who you are and listening to the music you want to listen to. And if I want to go to a show in an old pair of jeans and, look like I'm not fitting the part, I'm still really, I'm still a punk at heart, in my opinion.
Yeah, what is the part, right?
Exactly.
I had a thing when I first wrote my blister book before I made the comic. I think it was when I made the first comic, actually. I was interviewed by somebody, My mom watched it and she was like, "You weren't a punk," and it was really funny because it was like my mom calling me out. But like, I think that my mom didn't really know like where I stood on anything. I mean, I wasn't out fighting people or like,
Right.
I never had blue hair or.
Well, that's what kind of led me to the thought was like, I knew a lot of kids when I was in school that their parents could afford to dress them up like a punk, and they acted like one. They would like say dumb shit and give the teachers the finger and like push people around when they were, you know, they were trying to be counterculture or whatever. But then I would go to punk shows and I would never see them there.
Yep.
It would always be the people who had the torn jeans and their, you know, their parents were fighting all the time. And so they were just finding a place to be that wasn't at home. And they were like, you know, just sitting in the corner, just like watching the music, like kind of just dealing with their rage in their own way. You know, that felt way more punk to me than, you know, wearing designer clothes or, you know, having a certain hat, any of that shit.
Yeah, and back then it was, you know, depending on how old you were and, you know, like you said, how much rage you had going through your system. That was also back when going to a show and waiting for the slam pit to start was huge therapy. That was, and you knew at that point it was a time when if you fell, everyone around you was going to pick you up. And if all, you know, if your shoe fell off, people are helping you find your shoe. You know, if you got your shit
That's
knocked
one
out
thing
of
that
you,
I've always kind of stressed about the punk thing too, is that like they talk about different kinds of punks and stuff, but like the inclusion of it all. I've never gone to a show and felt like an outsider.
exactly.
That to me, and this is where the thought came from when I was thinking about Blink, is like, yeah, they've reunited. But what was the last punk thing they did?
I remember 2001, 2002 or whatever, they played with Bad Religion at our big amphitheater. And I remember like they got up on stage and the curtain dropped and there was this gigantic light up thing behind them, as big as this humongous stage that said "fuck" across it. And everybody screamed and it was amazing.
Right.
We were all dumb kids and we thought it was hilarious and amazing and fuck everything.
I mean, that is kind of punk.
Yeah.
But like, I guess what I'm saying is like, they are definitely in the punk annals of history. There's no denying that. I'm not here to talk about whether or not they have cred, but at what point does punk start evolving past where it used to be? You know, like if you think it used to be safety pins and leather jackets, and then it was also mod, and there was a time when skinheads weren't Nazis. You know, if you go back far enough, the skinhead thing got co-opted. Yeah. So like things are constantly changing and evolving. And I feel like punk is one of those things that it embraces that evolution and embraces that change. And so the one thing that it won't do is commercialize. And so if we're paying $800 for a fucking ticket.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's not just isolated to punk either, with certain parts of this conversation, which obviously we'll have to continue in another episode. But things like, you know, there's points where bands get to past their metal roots and get past everything, because it's not necessarily always because they're selling out or anything like that. No. It's sometimes because they got a producer that's overproducing their shit. It's sometimes because they got to a point where the guy can't scream anymore. And that's just natural progression. That's nothing against them. It's just, you know, sometimes things naturally have to change. That's fine. But again, yeah, exactly. It's like, are your shows going to be a little different? Is your, you know, overall, you know, stance that you're still punk or metal or whatever it is? It's totally a mindset on a lot of it, I think. And I think, like you said, some of it is about commercialization. And, you know, some people embrace it too much in the commercialization portion. Blink, unfortunately, I think was one of them, where they got to a point where I thought their most fun stuff, and I don't mean to rip on Blink, I like Blink, they got to a point where their most fun stuff was just being fun assholes. And they showed that on everything they recorded, everything they did live. And then after a certain point, it just became, they tried to do that one album where it's like, look, now we're serious. And it was like, that was really after that point, exactly. After that point, I was like, there's nothing fun about this. That's why I liked you. What are you trying
and then
to
coming back and trying to embrace the old music and the dick jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
It almost feels pathetic a bit, but not to rip on them again, but it feels weird. And I mean,
I'm with you.
Jokes, but like I don't know, there's something weird about it now.
Well, it's kind of how I felt after a certain point with Korn. You know, like Korn put out like Follow the Leader. I love that album when it first came out, and they had a couple other albums. And like, I'm not a huge new metal guy, but they just happened to be in my orbit at a time when I was looking for something with that sort of vibe. And then, 3 or 4 albums down the road, I was like, oh yeah, Korn, and I bought one of their albums and I started listening to it. I was like, and I kind of had this realization, like, how many times can you cry about your dad before it stops becoming interesting to me? It's like,
I will say though that at least they stayed true to that sound. It's like there's that difference between did somebody try to evolve and like change into something they're not, whereas at least they kept true to what that vibe was that they were going for. Yes, they hammered that nail too much.
I wonder if that's what they were attempting to do. I wonder if it was more that they were trying to capitalize on something that they knew would make them money. That's how it felt to me, was that they kept hammering that nail because the nail kept giving them royalty checks. And that's kind of what I mean is like, you look at any of the, I mean, R.I.P. the drummer from the Dead Kennedys just passed.
I know.
You look at guys like that, and it's like, you would never question whether or not they were doing something authentically. Everything they did was authentic, even if it was different than the shit they'd done before. It was still like them. You know what I mean?
Look at Henry Rollins.
Yeah,
he won't
perfect
go back
example.
and play his old stuff. He doesn't want to do any of that. He's past that, and he doesn't want to just be milking, getting checks for. He gets checks for other things.
I mean, that spoken word stuff he does is actually pretty fun. And
I found him life changing when I went and saw him. Like he really struck a chord with me.
And honestly, ditto with some of the spoken word stuff from Jello Biafra. Speaking of Dead Kennedys. So.
Yep, totally. Yeah, so it got me kind of self-examining a little bit and thinking about, I have a friend who I met through a writing class, and I do a lot of writing, and he kind of struggles with getting the actual words down on the keyboard. And I always tell him, a writer writes. Like if you want to be a writer, then you have to do the writing. You can't just. It's not something you can just become. You have to. It's a verb, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I feel the same way about punk, where it's like you can wear the outfit and still be a corporate asshole. And it feels like to some degree, if Blink isn't going to try and rectify the situation, then I mean, how punk are they? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. That's my thoughts.
Just one last thing, I guess, on that subject for me is the Green Day with that last album they did. I don't even know what you classify that.
It was different.
Yeah. Like whatever they were doing, I guess they probably did it fine, but it wasn't what they've done before. It wasn't what I was expecting.
And to that point, it's like Green Day as a band have so many side projects, like The Network.
Yeah,
and
if it was a side
Foxborough
project, I would
Hot
have thought about it completely.
Exactly.
Different.
It's like but they have so many other vehicles that they could have turned to. Why did they do it as Green Day?
And then they put that out in 2020. They did their Hello Mega tour with Weezer in 2021, and was that last year too? Yeah, last year it actually happened because of COVID and postponement. But I went to that show, and they did no songs from that at all. I don't think they did anything at all post 21st Century Breakdown. Like they went back like 10 years.
Everything about what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I thought that said a lot about that album, and I was like, what the hell were they even doing? And there are bands that, like Foo Fighters, they experiment. Some of the stuff I like more than others, but that one was like a little beyond.
Yeah. I wonder how much of this has to do with contracts sometimes as well, where they just kind of want to wrap something up and move on. But with a band like Green Day, you've been around long enough that if you're still signing bad contracts, I mean, it's on you now.
Right. That's true.
All right, we should probably look at wrapping it up here. It's
been fun.
Yes.
Maybe we can do this again real soon.
Yes, it's nice to be back. I missed you guys.
I missed you too, Ben.
Oh.
All right. So yeah, next time we'll have to figure out probably 2 weeks. Not fingers crossed. We'll see
Cool.
what our schedules do.
Yeah.
All right.
Muckspout.com. Check out Roseblood Manor on Kickstarter. Do a search for it. We'll throw links wherever you see this.
And check out all the bad bug shit because all of it's gold,
Yes.
especially the stuff with boobies.
There
And
was
stuff with my name on it.
Yeah, and the stuff with John's name on it. Yeah.
all right. Thanks for checking us out. Catch you all later.